Welcome to my documentary on food deserts, a compelling exploration of a critical issue that affects millions of people around the world. In this eye-opening film, we will delve into the causes, effects, and solutions of food deserts. Food deserts. And no, I'm not talking about the cupcake and the cookie, the very dry and hot kind. It's the kind where you have to walk miles and miles to find water. What I'm trying to say is the term desert in this context is used metaphorically to describe the lack of resources in a particular area. In the case of food deserts, it refers to the absence of supermarkets, grocery stores, and other food retailers that sell fresh and healthy food. The term food desert suggests that these areas are similar to deserts in that they are barren and lacking the necessary resources for healthy living. For my research process, I decided to meet with a research specialist. He helped me find data on food deserts. One of the first things we encountered during our research was a food desert locator showing where food deserts are located and how big or how small these areas can be. We were able to find what the figure reflected. As seen here, it reflected low income and low access. What does that exactly mean? I contacted a nutrition and dietitian specialist, Dr. Hernandez Boyer, to give me some insight on food deserts and their characteristics, specifically low income and low access.
So a food desert, it's a geographical area that has limited access to healthy or fresh foods. And I said geographical area because it's usually referred to a space, right? So one of the common characteristics is that the household or the house where families live is very far away from a grocery store. So the USDA embarked this research back in 2009 to kind of measure food deserts in the United States. So they estimated that the distance could be at least 10 miles. So if a house is 10 miles away from a grocery store, might be considered a food desert. Now, the other characteristic is that the community or the family doesn't have proper transportation to get to a grocery store. Because if, let's say, someone lives in a rural area and the closest grocery store is within 5 miles, but that person doesn't have a proper transportation, then that is a barrier for that person to get healthy foods. That doesn't mean that in that geographical area you don't have retailers, like food retailers or convenience stores. Probably they do. But what they lack is access to healthy foods. Another important aspect is, of course, income. Most food desert areas, families are considered low income or from racial or ethnic disadvantaged population. So that's another issue. The key term with food desert, it's accessibility to healthy foods. Then we have the low income issue, the transportation issue. So that creates this environment where this group of people then don't have access to healthy foods.
Dr. Hernandez Boyer gives us a great explanation of what low income and low access is, as well as their characteristics. Although they may seem separate, these two are very much interconnected. Food deserts are typically located in these low-income areas, where there are few or no supermarkets or grocery stores selling fresh or healthy foods. Residents may have to travel long distances to find a supermarket, which can be challenging for those who do not have a car or access to public transportation. These two characteristics are the most prominent. However, I wanted to see if there were any more underlying characteristics that contribute to food deserts. Digging deeper, we found that food education is a major contributor to food deserts. As seen in this paper, Findings show that geographical access to supermarkets is not the main factor fostering the purchase of healthy foods. Indeed, food education is. In some food deserts, there may be a lack of education about healthy food choices, cooking, and nutrition. This can contribute to poor dietary habits and a lack of awareness about the importance of healthy eating. The next question I had to ask was, how do these food deserts impact individuals and communities? I reached out to Dr. Jacqueline Hernandez Boyer to see what she thought.
In terms of health outcomes, and this is what concerns us as scientists, there is a phenomenon that is called the obesity paradox. Obesity is when there is an excess of nutrition in the body. Okay, so we refer to obesity, overweight, and that leads to the development of chronic diseases such as heart diseases, diabetes, and so forth. So the problem is that in these environments, because people don't have access to healthy, fresh food, they tend to eat foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, and then the nutrition quality is low. So although they live in an area with a lot of deficits, they gain a lot of weight. So we see a lot of the obesity prevalence among these families. And that creates a problem because in food deserts, oftentimes, not only families lack access to a healthy grocery store, but also maybe the hospital is also far away, or maybe the job market it's not as good as in the city. So it's a systemic problem, right? But what concerns me as a registered dietitian is the incidence of obesity. So from obesity, if it's not treated, you can have other issues. Like I mentioned, heart disease is the leading cause of death in our country. And we know, and research suggests, that obesity is a risk factor for heart diseases. And same for type 2 diabetes, knee problems, sleep problems. So it's really a sad situation because they don't have access to nutritious foods.
One of the first and main effects that I found from food deserts is health. Poor health outcomes. Limited access to healthy foods can lead to poor nutrition and diet-related diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. And as a result, increase people's medical bills. And that's what this article is about. How healthcare expenditures of individuals increase in food deserts. In that same vein, an effect is reduced lifespan. Studies have shown that people living in food deserts have a shorter life expectancy than those who have full access to healthy food options. Another effect that is brought up in this article is the reduced quality of life, specifically the negative impact on mental health and well-being that comes with food insecurity. One of the less prominent but still significant effects of food deserts is its impact on education.
The proportion of individuals living within a food area did significantly explain fourth grade achievement score.
When children do not have access to healthy food, it can lead to a number of negative effects, including poor academic performance, behavior problems, and can also impact cognitive development. The last question I have to ask myself are, what are the solutions? And looking at multiple papers, here are some of the solutions that kept popping up. One of the main ones that was mentioned over and over again was increasing the number of grocery stores in affected area, as well as improving public transportation options and increasing community engagement in food systems. Papers also mentioned the involvement of government and private organizations, investment in programs to promote healthy eating, specifically having to do with nutrition education and supporting local farmers to increase the availability of fresh, affordable produce. Having found these broad solutions, I wanted to ask Dr. Jacqueline Hernandez Boyer what are some solutions that she has seen implemented here in South Florida.
There has been a lot of initiatives, to be quite honest with you. Most of them are coming from the federal government and local government. So we have what we call the SNAP program. So this program is a food assistance program for low-income families. This was created due to other issues. However, the SNAP program has an educational program, which is called SNAP Ed. So what they do, they not only provide, the credits to buy healthy foods, but also educate the families about healthy eating and when they have access to the food. So there is a lot of educational programs for that. The other thing that some local governments are doing is that they're providing monetary incentive for local grocery stores to expand their availability. So let's say if in an area there is no grocery store, the local government will finance, and I think the range is $500,000 to kind of like develop a grocery store in a food desert area. So Florida, for instance, is one of those states where the local government offer this incentive to some of the local grocery store. The other strategies that had been proposed is to educate this family on how to grow their own food, which is not a bad idea. If they have a piece of land that they can grow, certain foods, especially fruits and vegetables. My only comment with that is that we have to take into account geographical location, but that might be a solution for those families. There are other initiatives, such as organizing the community where these people live to bring farmers markets, right, every once in a while, or like a food donation program from other towns that has been done. So those are kind of the possible solutions. And again, since the key word is access, so the solutions should go towards the access. How is it that these families can get adequate access and affordable prices?
I hope you've learned a little bit about food deserts, what it is, its causes, and its solutions.